Good morning. Now, dear students, now we will proceed towards the pre-formulation study polymorphism. In the last video, we have talked about what is a polymorph, and in which we have derived the polymorph is the one that can exist in more than one form. It's an ability of a compound or element to crystallize more than one distinct crystalline species with different internal structures. So we have already talked about that what is a polymorph, okay? But in today's video we will discuss about how polymorphic compounds could be distinguished. So, in the polymorphism, in the pre-formulation study, we have studied that there are some elemental substances such as carbon and sulfur that exist in more than one crystalline form and are said to be polymorphic. But the basic thing is that the polymorph generally have a different melting point, X-ray diffraction pattern, and solubility, even though they are chemically identical. So there are the various methods that can help us to distinguish how polymorph we can know that the compound is a polymorph. So by analytical methods is the microscopy, fusion method, DSC, IR, X-ray powder diffraction, SEM, TGA, and dissolution and solubility analysis. For microscopy study, the sample will require as 1 mg. For fusion, it will be 1 mg. DSC, it contains 2 to 5 mg. IR, infrared, that is 2 to 20 mg. X-ray, it's 500 mg minimum. SEM, it's 2 mg. For TGA, we need a sample of 10 mg. And for the dissolution or solubility analysis, it's a mg to gram. We come to the microscopy. See, all substances that are transparent when examined under a microscope or that has a cross polarizing filters are either isotropic or anisotropic. And amorphous substances such as supercooled gases and non-crystalline solids, organic compounds, or substances with a cubic crystalline lattice such as sodium chloride are isotropic, which have a single refractive index. So when the cross polarizing filters, these isotropic substances do not transmit light and they appear black like this, whereas the materials with more than one refractive index are anisotropic and appear bright with brilliant colors against the black polarized compounds. So, the interference color depend upon the crystal thickness and the differences in the refractive indices. Anisotropic substances are either uniaxial, having two refractive indices, and biaxial, having three principal refractive index. So this, what we do is the hot stage microscopy. Hot stage microscopy for the for characterizing data whether of a substance or whether a sample is a polymorphic or not. So the polarizing microscope fitted with the hot stage is useful instrument for investigating polymorphism, melting point, transition temperature, and the rate of transition at a controlled heating rate. In addition, hot stage microscopy facilitates differentiation of DSC endotherms for polymorphic transitions for a desolvation process when the sample is heated in a degassed immersion soil. Next is TGA, difference scanning calorimetry, and TGA is known as the differential thermal analysis. They both are used to measure the heat loss or gain resulting from physical or chemical change within the sample as a function of temperature. The endothermic, that is the heat absorbing process, are fusion, boiling, sublimation, and desolvation, solid-solid transition, and chemical degradation. Crystallization and degradation are usually exothermic processes. So the quantitative measurement of these processes have many applications in the pre-formulation studies, including purity, polymorphism, solvation, degradation, and excipient compatibility. The endothermic is the heat absorbing, whereas the exothermic is the heat liberating. Next is the X-ray. So, what we studied that TG and DSC are used to quantitative the presence of a solvated species within a bulk drug sample. So, coming out to X-ray diffraction, so it's an important technique for establishing the batch-to-batch reproducibility of a crystalline form is the X-ray powder diffraction. Random orientation of a crystal lattice in a powder sample causes X-rays to scatter in a reproducible pattern of a peak intensities at a distinct angle related to the incident beam. Each diffraction pattern is a characteristic of a specific crystalline lattice of a given for a given compound. So amorphous form doesn't produce a pattern, whereas the mixture of crystalline forms can be analyzed using the normalized intensities at a specific angles which are unique for such a crystalline form. Next one is the SEM. SEM is the scanning electronic microscopy. Generally, X-ray just give the identification and description of crystalline substances, whereas SEM studies used to renowned as what are the internal structure. See, what are the internal structures? See, this is the internal structure of a alginate, and it's in an aqueous solution, it's in an ethanolic solution, so there is a difference in this. But when this occurs with the alginate and polymer, we have a blend, it shows a difference. So SAM shows the internal structure of the compound. Next factor is the hygroscopicity. See, drug substances, particularly water-soluble salt form, have a tendency to absorb the atmospheric moisture. So, absorption and equilibrium moisture content can depend upon the atmosphere, humidity, temperature, surface area exposure, and the mechanism for moisture uptake. So, deliquescent material absorbs sufficient water to dissolve completely, as it's observed when we use sodium chloride in a humid day, it goes to liquefy, and other hygroscopic materials just absorb the water because of the hydrate formation or a specific site adsorption. So to test this hygroscopicity, sample of the bulk drug are generally placed in an open container with a thin powder bed to assure maximum atmospheric pressure exposure. So these samples are then exposed to a range of controlled relative humidity environment prepared with the saturated aqueous salt solution. So moisture uptake should be monitored at a time point representative of the handling 0 to 24 hours or storage to 0 to 12 weeks. And another analytical method for monitoring moisture level is the gravimetry, TGA, Karl Fischer titration, or a gas chromatography, depend upon the desired precision and the amount of moisture absorbed onto the sample. As we told earlier, next is the fine particle characterization. So the for a bulk flow, formulation homogeneity and the surface area control process such as dissolution and chemical reactivity are directly affected by the size, shape and surface morphology of the drug particles. So in general, each new drug candidate should be tested during the pre-formulation with the smallest particle size is practical to facilitate the preparation of a homogeneous sample and maximize the drug surface area for a inner interaction. So it could be by the microscopic culture counter, C, BT method, and the SEM method. In optical microscopy, what we use in the microscopy, generally a calibrated grid usually provides adequate size and shapes and characterization of the drug particles. Sampling is been done and the microscopic slide must be performed carefully to obtain a representative dispersion. So, several hundred particles should be sized, and the resulting mean and range of the size is reported as a histogram. Next is the Coulter counter. In conjunction with the light microscopy, we use the Coulter counter method. It is a convenient method for characterizing size distribution. Samples are prepared for analysis by Coulter counter is by dispersing the material in a conducting medium, such as the isotonic saline, or with the aid of ultrasound and a few drops of the surfactant. So a known volume that you can say from 0.5 to 2 ml of suspension is then drawn into a tube, is then drawn into the tube through a small aperture, that is from 0 to 800, 0.4 to 800 micron, and across which voltage is applied. So as each particle passes through the hole, it is encountered in size according to the resistance generated by displacing that particle's volume of conductive medium. Next is the sieve method. We all know the sieve particle size analysis in the physical pharmacy classes. That is sieve method generally used for the large samples of relatively large particles, that is about 100 micron. Next is the BET method, that is Bronner, Emmett and Teller method, in which a layer of nitrogen molecule is absorbed on the sample surface at minus 196 degrees Celsius. So once surface adsorption has reached equilibrium, the sample is heated to a room temperature, the nitrogen gas is dissolved and its volume is measured and converted into number of the adsorbed molecules via the ideal gas law. Next is the SEM, in which we serve as to confirm qualitatively a physical observation related to the surface area. During preparation of SEM, the sample is exposed to high vacuum during the gold coating process, which is needed to make a sample conductive, and concomitant to removal of water or other solvent may result in a variable in a false picture of the surface morphology. Here we comes to the density, bulk density. It is a compound varies substantially with the method of crystallization, milling, or formulation. Once the density problem is identified, it is easily corrected by milling, slugging, or a formulation. So usually bulk density is of a great importance when one considers the size of a high dose capsule product or the homogeneity of a low dose formulation, in which there are the larger differences in the drug and excipient density. Powder flow properties, free flowing or a cohesive. If there is adhesion, they will form a lumps. So the most flow properties are significantly affected by the changes in the particle size, density, electrostatic charge, and adsorb moisture which may arise from the processing or the formulation. So as a result, a free flowing drug candidate may become cohesive during the development, thus necessitating an entirely new formulation strategy. So the pre-formulation powder flow investigation should quantitatively assess the pharmaceutical consequences of each process improvement and provide direction for the formulation development project team for to generally help in a free flow. Way to improve flow properties can be by granulation, slugging, and gliding. We use various techniques like the dry, wet granulation, slugging, in which a large tablet is made and then it has been that there is a desanctification or the tablet is where the particle size has been reduced, and Clyden by the use of talc and magnesium stearate to avoid frictional forces. So it's like that cohesive flow powders may be characterized by the tensile testing or evaluated in the shear stress. So um, when we used to develop angle of repose, generally we do angle of repose study for flow to evaluate the flow property. So for angle of repose, we have already performed angle of repose in our uh, junior classes, that how angle of repose can be characterized. So this is all about how we used to differentiate polymorphs. And for this, thank you so much.